Hey everyone, welcome back to Rob Wells Music Talk. I'm very happy that you're here, very happy that you're returning, and hopefully you will enjoy this episode. Today's episode is all about questions and answers. So I reached out to my social media network and just said, hey, I'm thinking about doing a question and answer show on my YouTube channel. Is anyone interested? And it turned out there were a lot of people that were very interested. They started sending in questions and I put them into a little file and I've got it all prepared on my secondary monitor over here and I'm ready to dive in and give some answers. But before I do, I'm wondering if anybody knows this graphic that's on my t-shirt right here. No? Anybody? Maybe some. This is definitely from the Greatest American Hero TV show in the 80s that I used to watch, where it was some ordinary dude that found a briefcase in the middle of the desert, and inside the briefcase was a suit that when he put it on, it gave him superpowers, and it was a comedy, and it lasted for a few seasons, and yeah, I used to love it. So big nerd here. I'm wearing that shirt because I love the show, and I love to, show the world. All right, here we go. So these questions are in no particular order. I just literally put them in. Well, I guess they are in order of which I received them. That's how they're coming in. So the first one is coming in from Kath Thomas. And Kath says, hi, I have a question, which is great. I like that. I've just been working on some ballads with just piano and vocals. I'd love to know what I can do to make them sound as best as they can. Any advice on applying compression, EQ, etc., and typical best practice settings for grand piano and mezzo-soprano voices, including blending backing vocals into the mix, would be very gratefully received. I'm very grateful for that question, and it's the first one on my Q&A series, so I'm going to try to dive in and answer this as best that I can, and hopefully the rest of you can hear this and it will apply to you as well. So when recording vocals with just piano, it's amazing. The more stripped down that a production is, the more that you can really hear everything. Really, like just every single detail is just out in the open. And so it's very important that everything just sounds just excellent, really, really good. So my first thing that I would think of is just, recording the vocals themselves. That's a really important step. And for me, I will never tell you, you got to use this mic or that mic. I've used all different mics. I don't really have a preference. You can use any mic that fits within your budget. For me, the most important thing is just, do you connect emotionally when you're singing with that vocal? Are you really acting that vocal out? Do you have the right amount of space between you and the mic? So here I have a mic. It's an AKG D3800 that I bought 30 years ago. I'm still using it. And you can see I have a pop screen. So the pop screen is about 2 inches away from the mic. And then my voice is maybe 2 or 3 inches away from the pop screen. I think that's a really, really good place to be. Obviously, if you're going to be belting, you might want to pull back a little bit. If you want to be a little bit more intimate, then you would move in. You can hear the difference in my voice when I move in. And then when I go back, a lot of the frequencies don't get represented when you move back, but it really is great for belting. But just really emotionally connecting to that vocal, I think is the most important thing. And just when you think it feels really weird, the emotion that you're pouring into it, it's like, oh, maybe that's too much. For me, that's when the magic is really starting to happen. So really push yourself, really exaggerate the emotional performance, because the listener is going to want to hear that you are emotionally invested when you're singing. They want to believe that it's going on right now when they're listening to the song. And the only way for that to happen is for you to emotionally perform that song. There's no amount of EQ or any other plugins or anything like that will help this area. It really comes down to the greatest performance. Really pour that emotion in for sure. Pianos, there are so many great pianos that are out there right now. I have personal favorites. I love Imperfect Samples. They have a walnut Steinway grand piano, which I use, I'd say 90% of the time. There's many other pianos that are out there, and I might do a piano virtual instrument episode so that you can see all of those. But really just go out and listen to the samples and try them and see if it works, see if you like it. To me, it's important that the piano really matches the vibe of what you're trying to record. So if you want an upright, if you want a grand, if you want a piano that's a little bit beaten up or something that's more pristine, it's entirely up to you. Then what I would think about is once you've got these great vocals recorded, you've then got to edit them. You've got to time them. You've got to tune them if necessary. You've got to get them into a place where it just feels really good before you start adding those effects on there. Once it feels really good with the timing and the tuning, I would move on and I would start applying compression. Compression is your friend. It'll just take all the quiet moments and all the loud moments and squash and make it so that it's represented. But be careful, because when it squashes, it'll make the whole thing quieter. So then you adjust the output of that compressor. You bring the output up so that, everything's nice and squashed. The loud moments are brought down, the quiet moments are brought up, but then you turn up the overall volume of that compressor to be a little bit louder. After a great compressor, I would throw a de-esser on there. That's my next chain. So compression, a de-esser to get rid of the all that stuff. After that, I would start messing around with the EQ, not too much. I would just apply just ever so slight EQ, like 1 decibel at 8K, roll off the lows a little bit, just really make small moves and see if that helps. After that, I start messing around with reverbs and delays. And with reverbs, I love many different reverbs, but one of my favorites is RAUM, RAUM from Native Instruments. That's just a great reverb and it sounds amazing on everything. Really, really sounds good. With delays, I use an assortment of delays. There's ones that you can find in your DAW, or you can download or purchase different delays. There are free ones. There are ones for purchase for sure. Just all depends what you're looking for. I love a good ping pong delay. That's where it's sort of bouncing from left to right and having it decay over time with the feedback. So there's that. So that's really the voice. That's really getting it into a place. Now, another thing about reverbs and delays, I never really just put them on and then let them be. I like to go through the entire track and automate the levels so that there's moments where there is no reverb. There's moments where there's a lot of reverb. There's moments where it just feels like it's alive. Same thing with delays. I want to have moments where there's, a word that gets really delayed out. So I'll never just put it on and just leave it. To me, that's super boring. You got to automate these things in order to make everything feel alive and put emotion into that reverb and delay. Put emotion into everything. Put emotion into the way that you're playing the piano. Really feel it. Also, make sure that the piano is not drowning out your vocal in performance and in volume. Make sure that the piano is supporting what the vocal is doing. Make sure that it never steps out of line and says, look at me, I'm really cool, I'm really important, and I'm more important than the vocal, because then the listener has no idea really what to look at or what to listen to. So make sure that the part that you play for the piano really just supports the vocal and lifts it up. The vocal is the most important thing in this case. In any case, really, if you have a vocal is to be protected at all costs. With the piano, I would also compress. I would compress everything, but don't use the same compressor as the vocal. Put a separate compressor on the piano. Start messing around. You can play around with the attack of the compressor. I find with the piano, you can leave the attack a little longer so that you get the nice sort of hit of the piano key. But then after the piano key has been hit, the compressor starts to kick in and it brings up those decaying notes a little bit more so that the piano is really just great. If you want to hear a really, really great example of compression used in a song, please listen to Elton John's song called This Train Don't Stop. It is phenomenal. It's a real masterclass in great compression. Everything is compressed like crazy, and it just is so in your face and just amazing. Really, really good. Another one is Tom Petty's Wildflowers. That's a great song that is just compressed like crazy, but it just feels really, really good. And then just play around with the mix. Just really see, automate the levels of the piano. Maybe at the beginning in the intro it could be louder, but then you could pull it back a little bit to support the vocal. All of that. Just really play around and see what feels right. And I hope that helps answer your question, Kath. That's a great question. Next is Paula Rosetta, and she says, how do you deal with yours and other people's expectations? I mean, with the I have joy in what I do, because playing is a joy itself, and I don't struggle if I can't have an entire good song done. So how do you deal with yours and other people's expectations? Wow, that's a great question. I don't really have expectations other than to wake up happy and grateful with the expectation that today I'm going to have fun. That's it. That's really it. I am going to wake up and I'm going to have fun, but I'm going to work hard while having fun. You know, that is really my expectation. If anybody's expecting anything more than that, I'm not really down for that. I'm not expecting any more than that. If I'm working hard while having fun, I think that great things are going to happen. And if I take all the other stuff that people are dumping on me, that's adding pressure. And it's really hard to be creative when there's pressure. It's a lot more fun to be creative when you're free, when you can just sit back and enjoy and just have fun with everything and see where creativity takes you. That's where the great stuff happens for sure. So if anyone has expectations as to, you know, oh, you got to get this done by a certain day or whatever, it's like, I'm always throwing that out the window and really just focusing on, I'm going to have fun today. I'm going to work really hard, but I'm going to have the best time and I'm going to experiment and I'm going to see what happens. And that's where the good stuff always comes from. And you know what? I always do meet those deadlines, but I don't put the pressure on like, oh my God, I got to meet that deadline. Oh, what am I going to do? Because then nothing will ever get done. So I hope that helps. There's also no pressure to finish a song every day. It'll get done when it gets done. I've got some songs that have been kicking around for 16 years that are still not done. They will get done when it's right, when it feels great. You know, there's different scenarios. If I'm working with an artist and they only have a certain amount of time, that's good. I like that, but I will still make it as fun as possible, as lovely as possible, because then everyone feels safe that they can say whatever they want to say, that they're not going to feel like they're ridiculed, you know, anything like that. I just try to keep it moving, keep it fun. And by the end of the day, we've got a song that the artist is usually running out and calling their manager or whoever it is that's looking after them and says, we've got the next single or we've got the direction for the album or whatever, just because we had fun. I listened to them. They listened to me. We had a great collaboration and it was great. So I hope that answers your question. Next, we have Donica Lenahan, and he is saying, hi, Rob. Thanks for this opportunity. I have one question. Apologies if it's a bit simple. No worries. All good. There are no bad questions or simple questions or whatever. It's fine. When you have a hook or a good melody, how do you build on that or even build up to that? I find myself staring blankly at the DAW after putting together a great melody and bass line, but my creativity has run out and I can't make a finished track with any real developments. And it just becomes another project that sits there untouched forever. Thanks again. Donica, let's fix this. Have you ever seen those shots where the author is sitting at the typewriter with a blank piece of paper and they don't know what to write? They don't know the first thing of what to put down. I think that having the typewriter in front of you is great pressure. And also having the computer in front of you, the blank screen in front of you, is real pressure. And you're also not learning anything about life. So I highly recommend when you have these moments, get away from the computer, escape, unplug, get outside, walk, go and meet some friends, have some fun, have a great time. It's in this that, believe it or not, you're actually gathering information. You might hear some music that's being played and you're like, I really like that. I would love to do something like that. Or you might have an experience where you're like, that's incredible. That makes me feel like this. And these are the chords that I would write for this. And here's the melody that I would come up with for this. Here's the subject matter. I really identify with that. How does it make me feel? Okay, well, it makes me feel really happy. Okay, so if it makes me feel happy, I'm probably going to use major chords for this song if I'm going to write about it, if I'm going to compose something for it. If it makes me feel sad, I'm probably going to use minor chords. If it makes me feel bittersweet, then I'm probably going to do a mixture of major and minor chords. If I want it to be really quirky, then maybe I'll just use chords that are a little bit outside of the beaten path, you know? Doing all of that will help you, but sitting there and staring at your screen is the worst thing for creativity. It really is. Getting outside, being inspired, using your imagination that way, I think is the way forward. I do that daily. I go for a walk, I turn everything off, and I just let the environment hit me. I like the experience to hit me. I like to listen to what people are saying, observe what people are doing, see the way that the trees are moving, the clouds, the weather conditions, whatever it is, I'm being rained on, or, oh my God, it feels so good to have the sun shining on me. All of that is kind of cool. And then I end up writing a song from that. But yeah, get outside, be inspired. And I hope that helps answer your question. All right. So the next question is from Frank O'Day, and Frank sent me a 2-part question, but the first part, I'm not going to read it out. It's really funny. He went and created a very crazy technical question that just, you'd have to be Einstein to answer. But then at the bottom part, he says, I suppose what I'm really trying to say is when you're making a song, like with lots of different sounds, like drums, instruments, and singing, all that stuff happening all at once, how do you keep everything clear and not messy? How do you stop the sounds from fighting each other or sounding weird when they're all mixed together? That's a great, great question. Again, I protect the vocal at all times. The vocal is the most important thing. So I start really simply. I'll start from the beginning to the end of the song, and I'll just lay down a simple piano part or a guitar part that just basically plays the chords. And then I'll sing the song from the top to the bottom, or I'll get the singer to sing it from the top to bottom, just one pass, no editing or anything, just so that I have it right there. I'll then zoom in on a section of the song, say the chorus. My whole desire is to protect the vocal. And so I want to make the song sound as big as possible using as little instrumentation as possible while protecting the vocal. So with that in mind, with the instruments that I put down, I want them to never step on the toes of the vocal, but I want them to be big enough that they sound great on their own, that they're doing something that's really important, not just filling the spectrum of sound. I want it to be there for a reason. So I'll try to limit myself to probably, 6 layers at a time of instrumentation. So I'll have my vocal, I'll zoom in on the chorus, I'll loop the chorus, I'll just hear the vocal, and then I'll start figuring out what's my dominant instrument for the song. Is it a piano-based instrument? Is it a guitar-based instrument? Is it synthy? Is it organic? Is it electronic? All of these questions that I'm thinking about. And then once I've figured that out, I'll figure out what the dominant instrument is and start working on that first. No drums, just dominant instrument and vocal. I'm listening to the vocal and I'm thinking, how can I merge with this vocal so that it supports the vocal and lifts it up, doesn't step on the toes? Once I've got that part and it feels really good on its own so that I could solo it and be like, that's a really cool part. I feel good. Next, I go down to the layer underneath, which is usually the drums. And the drums then have to support that dominant instrument layer. They have to merge with that and support the dominant instrument up, still being a unique part, right? So that's kind of what I'm doing always. Once I've got that and I can solo the drums and think that's really cool, then I move down, and it's usually the bass after that. After I do the same thing by supporting the drums, I'm making the bass merge with the drums and support the drums and elevate that, but not stepping on the toes of anything. If you keep doing this, you're never going to step on the toes of the vocal. Underneath that, I might have a secondary instrument, like if it's a guitar-based song, then I might have a pad or maybe another guitar. Maybe there's a moment where electric guitar comes in. Who knows, whatever that secondary instrument is. And then usually there's like a little bit of string action and then ear candy. That's kind of it. And then once I've got my sonic palette of the chorus, I'll move backwards, go into the pre, do the exact same thing, just loop the pre and start doing it in that order while thinking about what I did for the chorus. But I'm always stripping away in the pre, always stripping away things so that it feels like as we move forward, things are progressing, but it doesn't become overproduced in the end. I'll then do the same thing. I'll go to the verse and I'll loop the verse and I'll strip away from my sonic palette from the pre. Then I'll go into the intro and I'll do the same thing. And I'll strip away from that from the verse sonic palette. So if you play it forwards, it's leading to the thing that is the chorus, that is the full production, and it's going to feel really good. It's not going to feel overproduced, and the vocal is going to be protected. Always protect your vocal, keep it loud and proud, and I hope that helps answer your question. Okay, and let's see. The next question that I have here is from, and I'm sorry if I'm not going to pronounce this right, but it's OBK Yao OG. I think I'm just going to say Yao. Great name. I love that. What is the shortest and most effective way of reducing background noise? Again, capture it at the source. Try to deaden the sound as much as you can. If you're in a busy place, a loud place, try to find another environment if you can. If you can't, if you're stuck there and you have nowhere else to go, then find a closet and put that mic in the middle of your closet and put it right in the middle and close the doors and try to be as isolated as possible. Another trick that I try to do is, I turn off the furnace, I turn off the house fan, I turn off anything that's generating any sort of noise. Also, if there's a lot of traffic outside, try to record at a time when there's not a lot of traffic. Maybe Sunday morning would be great. Early Sunday morning, or maybe later at night. But definitely the closet is great. You can also get 2 portable racks, something that you can put hangers on or whatever that has wheels on the bottom, and you can hang blankets over those. 2 blankets, make a V shape like that so that you've got your mic right here, and then these 2 portable racks going out like that. You can then put another blanket over top those portable racks and just try to make like as protected a place in there as possible, just to try and eliminate all that. There's also plugins that you can use that eliminate background noise. I hate to say AI, but man, AI is amazing at just going through and you can separate all the stems. So basically have the vocal just on its own, and then any other noise goes to a separate track. So that's really good. There's also plugins that get rid of noise, that get rid of crackle, that get rid of the saliva sounds in your mouth, many different things. So just use all these different things in order to get rid of background noise. I hope that answers your question, and I'm sorry if I messed up on the pronunciation of your name. Next we have Robert Fremantle. Robert says, I often write in a retro feel. Do you ever begin with a musical idea that feels too retro or stylistically dated? And if so, what's your process for modernizing it without losing the charm? Wow, great question. Bruno Mars. Do you ever listen to Bruno Mars? Listen to Silk Sonic. Listen to 24/7 Magic, or whatever, the 24 karat magic. That's what it is. Retro sounds, but brought into modern technology. And I think it's great. The great thing about Bruno Mars is that he really respects the retro sound, but then he brings in modern lyrics. So that's kind of cool. But he also records with modern equipment. So the mixes sound really good. I think there's no problem in doing retro. I listen to Lenny Kravitz. I mean, all those great songs. I love Mama Said, Are You Gonna Go My Way? All those are just like amazing recordings that were recorded with great equipment and with great mixes and all that. So don't be worried about that. I would just think your recordings are already going to sound so much better than anything that came out in the 70s or the 80s, just from a pristine sound standpoint. So yeah, I hope that answers your question on there. Robert has a few more. He says, do you always write with an artist in mind or with an artist? Oh yeah. I usually write with the artist. I always have the artist here with me. If I don't have the artist with me, then if I'm writing for an artist and I don't have an opportunity to talk with the artist, I will watch some interviews with that artist to really get into their head and really try to know what they like, what they don't like, what they're passionate about, and then start writing about that. So I'll do that. There's many times where there's no artist, where I'm writing for a TV show or a film, and it's really, what's the emotion? What are you trying to say? What's the one concept that you're trying to get out? I really just have a destination always in mind when I'm writing. I never sit down like the author in front of the typewriter thinking, what should I do? I'm always thinking about it long before I come into this room. And then I can't wait to jump in here and start working on it. So I'm always thinking, what's something that I'm passionate about? What's something that I want to write about? And I plan all that stuff. When I was a kid, I used to play with Lego all the time. And we had a big bucket of Lego off to the corner in our recreation room. And I remember I never would really go to the Lego bin and just try to figure it out when I was sitting there. I was always imagining first, what do I want to build? And I'd see it in my head, and I'd already kind of be playing with it, in my head, just seeing it there. I'd see how I'm going to fly this thing around or whatever. And that way I just knew already what I was going to do. And I'd go to that Lego bin and I'd have it built within about 3 minutes or so, and then ready to play with it. And that was great for me. And I think I've continued that into music, where I plan and I imagine and I can hear it already before I jump into this room. So I always have something in mind. I always have an artist in mind, or I have the artist in here with me. And that is the ultimate when you have an artist in here. I would say always have an artist in mind. Whoever you're co-writing with, have that person in mind. Really write their song and get them to sing it, or you sing it and maybe you're the focus. Just always have somebody in mind, have something, so that it just really helps steer the ship, helps point you in the right direction. There's nothing worse than hopping into a car and thinking, where are we going to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? Okay, you've got some more questions here. How do you decide when a demo needs a full production to realize its potential versus when it's best left stripped back? That's on a song by song basis. There's some songs that work wonderfully just stripped down. And sometimes you have to find that after you've done a full blown production. That happened to me one time. I was working with a songwriter in England, and same thing. We worked on the whole day on this production. And at the end, I was like, what if we just muted everything except vocal and piano? And it was so much better. And my co-writer was just like, I can't believe we just spent all that time. But serve the song. Whatever the song needs is the most important thing. Some songs need a lot of pizzazz. Some songs need nothing. So it's really on a song by song basis. And you kind of feel that as you're going. What does the song need? And I always argue, if the song is amazing, it needs very little production. It really does not need to be incredible. And don't feel like adding more production is going to make your song better. The script, the song is everything. It's so much more important to have an amazing, well-written song, a great script before you pick up the camera to film the movie, before you start to produce it, So make sure that it's great, because then you really don't need all the bells and whistles to make it shine. I love that saying, you can't polish a turd. Wow, Robert, you got a few more. Here we go. Let's see. Are there any current mixing or arrangement trends that you think will sound timeless in 20 years? To me, the extremely deep or chipmunk computer modulated voices in sections will sound dated, for example. Follow your heart, man. I would just say that. Just don't worry about this stuff. Don't worry about things sounding dated. Just follow your heart. Feel what feels right for you and what feels right for the song. I'm not ever thinking about what's going to be dated, because I just don't want to be handcuffed, or I don't want to be like limited. I really just want to follow my heart and feel like, what does the song need right here, right now? I'm doing that always, for sure. So hope that answers that question. You've collaborated with a wide range of artists. What's the biggest thing you've learned about adapting your writing to other people's emotional languages? Great question. I have worked with a wide range of artists. All over the map. But, it all comes down to the conversation and hanging with someone. And, I used to work for the Bank of Nova Scotia. I was a bank teller. And I remember I worked there for 3 years, and I was just thinking, I'm wasting my time. However, I learned all about investing. I learned about stocks. I learned about loans, mortgages, all of that, saving up for a rainy day. But I also learned how to deal with people, because every 5 to 10 minutes, I was getting somebody new in front of me to do their banking. And I had to learn how to speak to everybody and communicate effectively with everybody and match personalities and see, all the different people that are coming at you. Some people that are happy, sad, angry. I once got spit on because I worked at the bank. It was nuts. But just, I found that really helped me later on in life in just being able to talk to anybody and finding a way to really get to the great stuff, to really talk about things that are important. And once you have that, once you have trust and you have communication and you're talking, then we're all the same. I really do feel like we're all the same. It's just, am I listening to that person with what they're saying? I'm always listening. I'm never just thinking, what am I going to say next? No, I want to know what they're going to tell me. I want to know their story. I want to know what makes them tick. So that to me is the thing that sort of glues it all together, is that I'm always listening. I'm always believing in the artist. I'm always trying to figure out how are we going to make something that matters to you with a little bit of me in there as well. But we're going to keep talking until we find common ground. If they mention something that I'm like, I've been through that too. Amazing. That is really sort of the way to make it happen, I guess. And then just stylistically, I love all music, so whatever the artist wants to do, I always ask them, what are your 3 favorite songs? And they'll tell me, oh, I love this one, and I love this one, and I love this one. And quite often they're very, very different. But because I love all music, I love to find a way to merge those 3 styles together in order to create something that the artist really, really loves and that I love as well. I hope that answers your question. Robert continues. How many more do you have here? We have 4 more from Robert, and I think we're going to pause after that, and then we're going to make another video later on because I got to get busy with work. How do you personally measure success in a song? Is it in how it connects with people, how it performs, or how it feels to you creatively? When does success happen? These are great questions. So for me, first and foremost, do I feel like crying at the end of the day when I hear the song? Do I feel like getting up and dancing? Do I want to hug my co-writer? Do I want to hug the artist? I can't believe what we've done. That is what I'm looking for every single day. Have I written something that matters? Have I written something that moves the people that are in the room right here, right now? I'm looking for that. Because if it's moving everybody in the room, if we're all understanding it and all feeling something from it, then I know once it leaves the room, it's going to move other people. Not everybody, but it's going to move some people, maybe a lot of people, hopefully a lot of people. So anything else that happens on top of that is the icing on the cake for me. Everything else that happens in here in this room is the cake. I love it. I love that experience of just writing something and having it succeed in that way. When it gets out into the world, whether it becomes a hit or not, I don't know. I'm always surprised at what becomes successful and what doesn't. But that again is the icing on the cake. So I'm just looking to find success in this room first and foremost, and to be really excited about the people that I'm working with, that I love the people that I'm working with, that I love their work ethic and that they love mine, and that at the end of the day, we can work together so well and we can create something that moves us unbelievably. That to me is a successful day and a successful song. So yeah, I've got songs that I love so much that have never seen the light of day in the world. And I've got other songs that, maybe earlier on in my career that I sort of hang my head a little bit and they became huge hits. So yeah, you never know what's going to happen in there. Let's see. Robert says, what's something you know now about maintaining a sustainable creative career that you wish you'd understood earlier? Yeah, great question. Banker's hours. That's another thing I learned about the bank. You open, you close. I needed to learn that the hard way, I think, because when I was younger, I would stay up till 4 a.m, 5 a.m, working on stuff and then just be a wreck the next day and not really able to contribute to much of anything. Now I know that I can start at 11 in the morning after I've done 2 hours. After dropping the kids off at school, I'll do exercise, I'll do business things, answering emails, contracts, lawyers, accountants, whatever, booking travel, booking gigs, chasing money, all that stuff. And then from 11 until 6, I am creative. And it doesn't matter how far along I am, at 6 o'clock, I shut it all down and I return to my family because it's really important. It's really important to be there. For sure. When I was younger, I was not there a lot. I was traveling here and there and going all over the place. And family is really important because, man, those years fly by like crazy. So I turn everything off at 6, no matter what. I make an MP3 of what we've done. I hand it off to everybody that we've been working with. If it's not done, we'll arrange for another time to get together again and work. Or maybe we have the next day already planned. But yeah, that's it. And some people are like, what do you mean? We're not done. I'm like, I know. But we need to, because we need to come back tomorrow and we need to give our A game. That's what I want to do always. I want to give my A game all the time. So yeah, that's one thing definitely that I've learned over time, is just, limit yourself to the amount of hours that you're putting into this, and be very strict about it. If you want to do this for your whole life, health is so important. Sleep is so important. Connecting with your family is so important. Telling people that you love them is so important. Being there is so important. Limit yourself with the creativity for sure. And then you'll love the fact that you can't wait to get back in the next day. You know, it doesn't mean that you can't stop thinking about it in your time off, but just don't be in front of the screen and being like, oh, if I just spend one more hour, this mix will sound so much better. No, sometimes the best thing is to leave and come back the next day and everything is so clear. It's like, what? That sounds horrible. Why was I happy with that last night? And then you make quick fixes and it makes it sound so much better. So yeah. Robert says, if you were mentoring an artist who wanted to retain their individuality while reaching a wider audience, what would you tell them to focus on? Well, I would always say to any artist, just follow your heart. Always just follow your heart, for sure. That is number one. What do you love? Don't do anything that only serves reaching a wider audience. Because if it's not what you love and it becomes hugely successful, you've then got to perform that for the rest of your life, or you'll go crazy. So follow what you love, do what you love. As long as it doesn't hurt anybody, do what you love, do the kind of music you like, write the kind of lyrics you love, record the kind of music you really, really love. And if people vibe with it, that's great. That's great. If it becomes hugely successful, that's great. Amazing. Just do what you love. Make the music that if you only had one chance to make music, make that. Make that always. And always assume that the majority of the world is going to hate what it is that you make. But mathematically speaking, there's 8 billion people on the planet. If 0.001% of the world's population loves what it is that you do, that is 8 million people. That's not bad. You just need to find those 8 million people, and you find that by slowly releasing your material and being active on socials. And slowly you'll find your tribe. It may not happen in year 1, may not happen in year 2, it may not happen in year 10, but it could. And it could start to bubble up, and before you know it, you're starting to gain traction. You're starting to play local shows, then you're starting to play regional shows, and then you're starting to play countrywide shows, and then you're starting to leave your country and starting to play other places. So that's really it. Make the music that really speaks to you and that you love, and don't ever change who you are or what you love just to get more numbers happening, ever. That's the worst thing possible, I would think. And the last one from Robert, and that'll be the last question for this Q&A before I go on and do another one. How important do you think genre identity is today? Should writers specialize, or can they afford to keep crossing styles? Do you think the writer's through line acts as a sort of authenticity all its own, even if an album has a rock track followed by a folky acoustic number followed by a ballad? Okay, so I think that when you're an artist and that you're coming out with material for the first time, I think you kind of got to make everything under the same umbrella. You kind of have to say to the world, this is what I am, and find out what that is and try to make the majority of your songs be that. Otherwise, it's really confusing, to the listener. They might hear a single and be like, I love that. And then they pick up your record and it's like, what? That was the only R&B song on a country sounding album? So I try to make everything feel like it's under the same umbrella. Once you have success, once you have people that are really into your stuff, you can start branching out a little bit. You can start really just, doing different styles and seeing what you love. And that's just the growth of an artist. But I think at the beginning, I would definitely be coming out under the same umbrella. Now, what that umbrella is can be really cool. That can be a mix of all different things. And again, remember how I was saying, take those 3 favorite songs and merge them together in order to create something new. I love that. You could be, I want you to come out and sound like nothing else, but it's all got to be under the same umbrella of whatever that sound is on the first album. So, my favorite food is Hakka Chinese food, which is the Chinese food that's made for an Indian population. So 2 different worlds coming together and to create this hybrid food that is just so good, so amazing. Imagine Chinese food that rips your head off. Amazing. So the same thing with music and production and style. Find different worlds that you love that you want to merge together. I have another YouTube channel that does kind of like movie soundtrack stuff. And it's a merging of 2 different worlds that I love, which I love electronic music, but I also love orchestral. And so it's the merging of those two things. And when I make it, I feel so happy making this. And it really feels like this is me. This is what I love. This is what I would do if I only had one time to make anything. So do that. Make that kind of music. Now you can have an up tempo, you can have a mid tempo, you can have a ballad. I wouldn't have an album full of ballads. I would try to make it so that people feel like, they move. Whatever your vibe is, maybe it is all ballads. If it is all ballads, then maybe have a mixture of ballads with a few mid tempos and maybe one that's a little bit more up tempo. Maybe it feels kind of ballad, but it's got more of a 4 on the floor sort of feel. I hope that answers your question, and I hope that's answered all of your questions on what has been the first Q&A session for Rob Wells Music Talk. Thank you for listening. If you're still here, if you're still with me, I really, really appreciate it. If you like this, please subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions at all, please respond on this page, comment on the video, and let me know what your questions are, and I'll add them to the list and hopefully answer them down the road. So once again, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Take care. Music Talk.